So for today's session, we are joined by Alija Farid Meghji, who is going to take us on a journey through our Ismaili history and heritage by sharing his collection of Fatimid coins. Farid was born in Zanzibar and came to the UK to study in the early 1960s. He graduated in electrical engineering from Edinburgh University, after which he moved to London and went into business. Now, Farid has a very extensive coin collection covering all Fatimid Imams from most dates and from most mints. He has exhibited and given talks at many venues in the UK and abroad, and has exhibited his collection at all Padramani centres in Canada, as well as in the UK. He has had personal audiences with Maulana Hazri Imam in London and with Begum Salima and Princess Zara at the Zamana Gallery in the Ismaili Centre in London. Farid has an extensive record of Jamaati Seva, serving in many national and Jamaati committees since 1977, including being chairperson of the Northwest Circle Club for 3 years. Now, the scope of his talk today will include the inception and history of the Fatimid Empire, a brief life history of our Fatimid Imams, and Hazri Imam's reflections on the Fatimid coinage, as well as looking at the metallurgic aspects and the examples of various types of coins. Farid will also give some background to a very important post-Fatimid Ismaili coin of Imam al-Nizar that was presented by the Jamaat to Hazri Imam in 1994 during the London Padramani. So without further ado, over to you, Farid.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tamiza, board member responsible for seniors, members of the Golden Club, and all others who have joined in from wherever. Ya Ali Madad. Thank you for inviting me to talk to you all about the coinage of the Fatimid period, a journey back in time of our history and heritage. It is lovely to see so many of you joining in today to greet each other, listening to inspirational talks. Thank you, Tamiza, for the introduction. Today, I'm going to talk about the history and heritage of the Fatimid period, covering briefly history of Fatimid Imams, you need to go to slide number 1. Progress number 2 and 3, please. Slide numbers. Today I'm going to talk about the history and heritage of the Fatimid period, covering briefly history of our Fatimid Imams, Islamic coinage of the Fatimid period, commonly known as the Fatimid coins. Before I go deep into the subject of coinage of the Fatimid period, I will start with 2 reflections of our Maulana Hazri Imam on the subject. First reflection, on receiving a unique and a rare Fatimid coin in 1994, he reflected, with regards to the Fatimid coin, the Fatimid epoch in our history is a significant precursor of attitudes. They are appropriate for the 20th and 21st century. It is a time in which Muslims and non-Muslims lived and worked happily together. So much is to be learned. Those lessons are as true today as they were at the time. The coin was not simply a gift of a coin. It was a gift of symbol of many lessons that came to us from our history, and that we should learn from, and that we should carry forward in the centuries ahead. London, 1994. And the second reflection, on visiting the Fatimid coin exhibition at the Earls Court, London, During the 1994 Padramani to UK, Maulana Hazar Imam reflected, "Congratulations on this remarkable exhibition, keeping alive interest and knowledge in our history." Aga Khan. What do these very important reflections tell us? It tells us about the attitudes of people at the time, about the tolerance and about the integration of Muslims and non-Muslims then and now. They tell us about our history, which we should carry forwards. And in the second reflection, Maulana Hazar Imam encourages us also through collections and research into Fatimid coins to keep alive interest and knowledge in our history. The operative words here used are keeping alive, and that we must. Fatimid coins are the tangible part of our history. Both the observations are very powerful and profound reflections. Now let us try to understand why history is important and why is our Hazar Imam paying so much importance to it. It explains the safeguards, continuity of traditions, it treasures our heritage and identity, and gives inspiration for a strong future from our understanding of the past. As Maulana Hazar Imam explained, when you're studying the Quran, when you're studying history of Imams, when you're studying the history of pre-Islamic Arabia, I would like you to take from this history that which can help you to live within the spirit of Islam. You should go through your own history and try to understand the development which has happened so that you can explain to your children what is the meaning of Imam and what is the meaning of faith. Now let us look at the beginning of our history. 570 AD, birth of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 610 AD, revelations, the forming of a vision. 622 AD, Hijrah, the flight or migration from Mecca to Medina. On his last journey from Medina to Mecca, Prophet Muhammad stopped on the way on 19th March 632 AD at a place known as Ghadir Khum and gave the important hadith. On 8th June 632 AD, the wafat of Prophet Muhammad. What was Ghadir Khum hadith during the flight from Mecca to Medina, from Medina to Mecca, and why is it so important? The event in the hadith, Maulana Ali was declared to be the first Imam by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The symbol, continuation of vision and leadership of the Prophet. The significance, in accordance with Shia doctrine, tradition, interpretation of history, the Holy Prophet designated and appointed his son, his cousin and son-in-law, Hazrat Maulana Ali, to be the first Imam, to continue the Tawil and the Talim of Allah's final message, and to guide the Murids and proclaim that the Imamate should continue by heredity through Hazrat Maulana Ali and his daughter Hazrat Bibi Fatima Zahra. This slide shows the site where the declaration, Man kuntum maulahu fahaza aliyun maulahu, meaning he of whom I am the Maula, Ali is his Maula, was made in the years 632 AD. 3 months later, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ passed away. This photo was taken by me during my Umrah trip in 1990. The exact site, as pointed out by our unidentified Shia guide, was where the two trees are on the left. At the far back of the photo is Mount Arafat, with the pillar where, as mentioned in the Quran, Hazrat Adam descended and prayed. With the evolution of Ismaili Tariqa, Imam al-Mahdi from Salamiyya in Syria traveled to Sijil Masa in North Africa in the year 909 AD to establish the beginning of a new era of the Fatimids. The early Fatimids ruled from the year 909 AD to the year 1094 AD. The name Fatimids is derived from Prophet Muhammad's daughter, Hazrat Bibi Fatima, who married Hazrat Ali, our first Imam. During the reign of Imam al-Mahdi, our 11th Imam, his advisor and confidante, Abu Abdullah Shi, was sent from Salamia in Syria to Tunisia as Dawa and converted the locals, Khatamat Berber, who were under the Aghlabids, and invited Imam to come. Imam al-Mahdi arrived in 909 AD 297 AH and established the Fatimid rule. Here, the date in AD refers to Christian calendar, and the date in age after Hijrah refers to Muslim calendar. As mentioned, the early Fatimid rule lasted from 909 AD to 1094 AD. It covered areas from Tunisia through Morocco, Egypt, the Middle East, and northern shores of the Mediterranean. The 190-year span covered the reign of 8 early Fatimid Imams, from Imam al-Mahdi to Imam al-Mustansir. This period is known as the Golden Era for Ismailis. On this slide are Fatimid Imams. On the right-hand side, you can see the reign of some of the Imams were very short. The shortest one being of Imam al-Mansur for only 3 years. Thus, coins under his name are scarce, but for Imam al-Mustansir, his reign was for 60 years. After the death of Imam al-Mustansir in the year 1094 AD, his eldest son Nizar was proclaimed as Imam al-Nizar, whose reign was also very short-lived, only 3 years. Dai Hassan bin Sabah, after the death of Imam al-Nizar, along with the followers, went and established the Batinid Ismaili base at Alamut in Iran. Now let us look at the brief history of each of our Fatimid Imams and their achievements. Imam al-Mahdi, our first Fatimid Imam. Imam al-Mahdi was born in 874 AD. On his father's death in 882 AD, he became the Imam at Salamia at the age of 8, where he remained in disguise as a Hashemid merchant. Thereafter, he moved to various places and had a very torrid time. Eventually, Rai Abdullah al-Shi, who was Imam's closest confidante, went to North Africa, Tunisia, won the hearts and the mind of local Kutama tribesmen, and conquered North Africa. In 909 AD, Imam al-Mahdi arrived and established the Fatimid Khilafat and was proclaimed the first Fatimid Caliph. He began building the empire and conquered the islands of Sicily and founded new towns of Al-Mahdiya and Al-Muhammadiyya. Imam al-Mahdi died in 934 AD at the age of 50. He had 6 sons. Imam al-Qayyim, our 12th Ismaili Imam, was born in 888 AD in Salamia, Syria, and upon Imam al-Mahdi's death in 934 AD, at the age of 46, was proclaimed second Fatimid Caliph. During his lifetime, Imam subdued various Berber and other uprisings. His army under Raidan twice retreated from entering Egypt. In 935 AD, he conquered Sardinia, Genoa, and other Mediterranean ports. Imam al-Qayyim died in 946 AD at the age of 58 in Al-Mahdiya and is buried there. Imam al-Mansur. Imam al-Mansur was born in Al-Qayrawan in Tunisia in 915 AD. He was brought up in North Africa amid battles and revolts, and hence developed military and spirit discipline. He was proclaimed third Fatimid Caliph at Al-Mahdiya in 946 AD at the age of 31. Imam al-Mansur had to defend challenges from Fatimid Khilafat from a very brave Abu Yahid, who came from Sudan and belonged to Zanata tribe. Imam finally defeated him at Fort Kutama, where he was wounded. As a matter of respect for the bravery of his enemy, Imam al-Mansur looked after all his family. After only 7 years of rule, Imam Mansur died in 953 AD at the age of 38 years. He was buried in Al-Mahdiya. Imam al-Muiz. Imam al-Muiz was born in Al-Mahdiya in 930 AD. He knew 7 languages and studied law. He succeeded to the Khilafat and Imamat in 952 AD at the age of 22. He was the 4th Fatimid Caliph. After strengthening the army, Imam put General Jawahir in charge of invasion of Egypt in 967 AD. Imam gave him a most honored send-off. He reached Alexandria, and after occupying it peacefully, he proceeded immediately to Fustat, and finally conquered Egypt in 968 AD. It chose a large area near Fustat to build the new Fatimid capital. The city was named after the planet Al-Qahira, Cairo. One of the most important constructions in Cairo was that of the chief mosque, Jamia al-Azhar, with a huge library and a university, which is the oldest existing university in the world. He encouraged law, medicine, architecture, and other disciplines. He had the biggest army and navy. After glorious imamate and brilliant achievements, Imam al-Muiz died in 975 AD at the age of 45 years. Imam al-Aziz. Imam al-Aziz was born in 955 AD at Al-Mahdiya and succeeded to the Fatimid Khilafat and Imamate in 975 AD at the age of 21. He was the fifth Fatimid Caliph. Yaqub bin Kilis was a Jew from Baghdad and entered into the service of Imam al-Muiz as a financial administrator and who introduced the currency reform. During the first 2 years of Imam al-Aziz's reign, Yaqub broke to a position of greater and wider influence, and in 977 AD, Imam al-Aziz made him the first chief Fatimid Wazir, a distinct office of supreme importance. Imam al-Aziz died while he was on his way to meet the Byzantine forces in Syria. He died of a stomach ailment in 996 AD at the age of 41. Imam al-Hakim. Imam al-Hakim was born in Cairo in 985 AD and became the next sixth Fatimid Imam and Caliph in 996 AD at the age of 11 years. Imam built many mosques and allocated funds for their upkeep, and also for the theologians, muezzins, Quran readers, and for maintaining wells, roads, hospitals, and centers for providing free kaffans to the poor people. The famous Academy of Sciences called Dar-ul Ilm or the Dar-ul Hikmah, the Academy of Science, was built by Imam in 1004 AD, which became the biggest research and learning centers in the whole Muslim world. It was also used as headquarters of Dawah and for various scientific activities. However, it was completely wiped out with the end of the Fatimid Khilafat. Imam al-Hakim died in 1021 AD at the age of 36 years. Imam al-Zahir. Imam al-Zahir was born in Cairo in 1005 AD. He became the seventh Fatimid Imam and Caliph in 1021 AD when only 16 years old. During his reign, from 1025 AD for 3 years, Egypt suffered terrible famine and shortage of water, food and crop failure, as the Nile did not rise. Because of insecurity in Egypt due to famine, the Syrian towns were getting out of Fatimid control. However, after establishing peace with Byzantium in 1027 AD, he brought Syria under Fatimid rule once more. In 1033 AD, Imam sent dyes to Iraq and Baghdad. They were very successful in converting a large section of people to Ismailism. Imam al-Zahir was known for his liberal and just rule, where people were prosperous and encouraged art, music, and education. Imam al-Zahir died in 1036 AD in Cairo at the age of 31 years. Imam al-Mustansir. Imam al-Mustansir was born in 1029 AD and became Imam and the 8th Fatimid Caliph in 1036 AD at the age of 7 years. During this period, North Africa gradually became independent of the Fatimids. However, this had a great effect on the trade, which was diverted from west to the east. There are many important dyes, including Moyad, Nashir Khusru, and Hassan bin Sabah during his reign. keeping together the Fatimid Dawa during most difficult period. Imam Mustansir had two sons. Against Mawla's wishes, Wazir Afzal Shahin Shah appointed the younger son Musta Ali as the next caliph, and the elder son Maulana Nizar was proclaimed the next Ismaili Imam. Imam al-Mustansir Billah died in 1094 AD at the age of 67 years. Imam al-Nizar. Imam al-Nizar was born in 1051 AD after the death of his father Imam al-Mustansir in 1094 AD, and under his instructions, Dai Hassan bin Sabah declared and installed Maulana Nizar at the age of circa 54 years as the 19th Ismaili Imam. His younger brother Musta Ali took over the Fatimid Caliph's role, supported by the chief wazir against Imam al-Mustansir's wishes. This brought the end of early Fatimid epoch. However, as Dai Hassan bin Sabah did not accept Musta Ali's rule, was imprisoned but then fled to Persia with followers and Prince Hadi, thus making Persia Nizari Ismaili independent of the Fatimid Caliph. Persia was surrounded by the Seljuk power. Seljuks were Orthodox Sunnis and wanted to destroy all traces of Ismailism. In spite of their opposition, Hassan bin Sabah succeeded in occupying Alamut, which was in the mountains of Elbruz. He built strong fortresses on top of the Alamut and set up headquarters for the Batinid Ismaili rule and protected Imamat. Imam had informed in confidence to die to proclaim Prince Hadi as the next Imam. Imam al-Nizar continued his struggle and died in 1097 AD at the age of 46 years. He was Imam for only 3 years. Alamut. We mentioned earlier about setting up of Ismaili headquarters here in Alamut for the Batinid Nizari Ismailis. What was the significance? It was a continuation of the attitudes of the Fatimids. Library was established where Ismailis, Shia, and Sunni scholars came for lectures. Over the years, Alamut gained recognition around the Arab and non-Arab world. Located in Iran, it is a mountain structure built on rock at high altitude. This fabled ruin of Alamut Castle owns historical significance for Ismailis, dating back to around 1090 AD. There are plans now afloat to offer it to UNESCO to declare as World Heritage, having outstanding universal value. The Fatimid dynasty was lost to Ayyubids in the year 1170 AD. History of Fatimid rule can also be traced through the coinage of the time, which is the tangible and historical part, an important part of our heritage. Excuse me. What are Fatimid coins? They were the currency of the time, minted and put in circulation by the rulers of the Fatimid period. The inscriptions on a coin is also its history in miniature. The legends found on the Fatimid coin are in Kufic script. Book by Richard Blunt, Arabic Coins and How to Read Them, is excellent reading material. The Fatimid coins were used for trading, bartering, banking, and used as jewelry by the well-to-do and also for social occasions. The earliest Fatimid coin was struck in Al-Qayrawan in Tunisia in 909 AD by Imam al-Mahdi after his arrival. The earliest coin from his new maritime capital, Al-Mahdiya in Tunisia, was struck in 920 AD. But in the year 928 AD, mintless dinars was struck by mobile army mints near Maghrib al-Aqsa. During the reign of Imam al-Qayyim, Imam al-Mansur, most coins were struck in Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, and Sicilia, Palermo. And these coins bore the Orthodox Quranic legends. In 968 AD, the year of conquest of Egypt by the Fatimids, Imam al-Muiz moved capital to Misr, Cairo, in Egypt, and established various mints producing concentric design coins. The famous Al-Azhar University was also established in Cairo in that year. Later, many more mints were established by the following Imams up to Imam al-Mustansibila. They included coins from Barca in Libya, Alexandria in Egypt, Damascus in Syria, Palestine in Palestine, Mecca, Medina, and from Multan in Pakistan, and Sur in Israel, which was known as Palestine at the time, and Yabid in Yemen. Coins were also minted for further 40 to 50 years from Citadel of Alamut. Very few examples still survive, hence are very scarce. There were about 32 Fatimid mints in total. Here, the slide shows the cabinet, which is the centerpiece of the exhibitions. In this cabinet, individual coins are displayed besides the Fatimid map, and a string runs from each coin and is pinned to the spot from where the coin was minted. In total, there are 28 different coins on display, covering coins of all the Fatimid Imams, covering gold dinars, silver dirhams, and glassweight coins. Also, each of the coins from different mint. With respect to mints during the period, the sketches on the slide shows a typical Fatimid mint. Top left, image showing bullion being smelted and coins being hammered by hand. If a hammer blow is not accurate, sometimes double images are produced. We have an example of this on a later slide. Bottom left, the master of the mint presenting the new coinage to the ruler for his approval. This is when a design is changed or a coin is produced for a special occasion. Top right, in those times, the money changer served as banker. He is illustrated here exchanging money and issuing letters of credit in the souk. Bottom right, in times of danger, including wars, prudent men would conceal their treasure from the invading enemy, putting coins and etc. in clay pots or leather bags and burying them deep outside their house. Many years later, during wars, if a bomb falls in the area, these coins surface and eventually find their way to museums or private collectors. That is how you will find some of the coins in absolute mint, uncirculated condition. Now let us consider the metallurgical aspect of the Fatimid coins. They were mainly minted from gold, silver, and glassweight. The gold coins. The gold coinage of the Fatimids has been regarded with legendary admiration and respect to this day for its unquestioned purity of gold content. Dr. W.A. Oddy of British Museum, after detailed study, concluded the coins issued under the Fatimids were distinguished by the full weight, purity, and the beauty of their execution. And as such, they were readily accepted in commerce, hence faith in gold. The denomination of gold coins in circulation was dinars and fractional dinars. The following slides show coins from different Imams with different designs and their dates and mints. This slide shows the gold dinar of Imam al-Mahdi, minted in Qayrawan in Tunisia in the year 928 AD. This slide shows the gold dinar of Imam al-Khayyam, minted in Al-Mahdiya, Tunisia in the year 942 AD. This slide shows the gold dinar of Imam al-Mansur, minted in Al-Mansuriya, Tunisia in the year 949 AD. This slide shows the gold dinar of Imam al-Muiz, minted in Misr, Cairo in Egypt in the year 968 AD. You can see it is in mint uncirculated condition. This was the year of conquest of Egypt by Imam al-Muiz and established Al-Azhar University. This slide shows the gold dinar of Imam al-Aziz minted in Palestine, now known as Palestine, in the year 988 AD. Unlike the previous coin we saw, this coin of Imam al-Aziz, and on some coins with concentric circle design, a spot or a palette is placed in the center to denote Imam of the time was present in the city where the coin was minted. Thus, the movement of Imam can be defined. This slide shows example of quarter dinars of Imam al-Mustansir, both minted in Sicilia, Palermo. Dates are off the flan. This slide shows examples of gold coins in circulation, some of which in 1986 were also exhibited at the Centuries of Gold exhibition at the Zamana Gallery, Ismaili Center. This slide is typical of a typical gold dinar of Imam al-Muiz, minted in Misr in 356 966 AD, and gives the transcription and translation of the legends. On most coins of such design, the words Allah, Ali, and Muhammad are inscribed. The silver and copper coins. The silver content of the Fatimid silver coins varies widely, and many examples are alloyed to great extent. The relative scarcity of existing examples would suggest either mining was much lower or that the bulk have been melted. The denomination of silver coins in circulation was dirhams and fractional dirhams. Copper coins are very rare and form only a minor currency. This slide shows a very scarce silver dirham, coin of Imam al-Hakim. The date and mint are off the flan, presumably clipped. Also, you can see the shape not circular, most likely because of double hammering when minting. This slide shows different examples of silver coinage in circulation, some of which in 1986 were also exhibited at the Centuries of Gold exhibition at the Zamana Gallery, Ismaili Center. This slide shows the transcription and translation of the legends of typical Fatimid silver coin. This coin is an example of Imam al-Muiz, minted in Misr in the year 966 AD. The Glassweight coins. The Glassweight coins were originally produced in Egypt and North Africa from the Sahara sand, and were also used in minor currency during the shortages. Thus, they are numismatically important as coins. Because they do not wear down over a long period and hold their weight, these coins were also used by the trading standards inspectors to counter cheating by shops who sometimes were adding weights underneath the traditional weighing scales. Some of the glassweight coins are of great beauty, being of colored and translucent glass with inscriptions on one side. These coins from Imam al-Qaim have a distinctive calligraphic design which is different from others. They are very rare. This slide shows examples of glassweight coin of Imam al-Zahir. You can see the different coloring there. The next slide shows different examples of glassweight coins in circulation, some of which in 1986 were also exhibited at the Centuries of Gold exhibition at the Zamana Gallery, Ismaili Center. As you can see, even over 1,000 years ago, they had the know-how to produce them in different colors, also some transparent and some translucent. This slide shows the transcription and translation of the legends on a typical Fatimid white coin. This example is a coin of Imam al-Mansur. Date and mint are missing. This slide shows the main three types of the coinage side by side. Get a better idea: the gold coins, the silver coins, and the glassweight coins. This slide shows the comparative examples of different designs of coins minted during the Fatimid rule. Here are the examples of 6 different common designs, but there were many more. This slide shows some examples of different grades and conditions of coins which have survived up to now. Coins are found in various state or conditions, from mint, uncirculated, extremely fine, to very fine, fine, good to fine, good, and fair. One must remember they are over 1,000 years old. There are various theories how some of them have been preserved so well until now. One of the examples we saw earlier in the earlier sketches of the mint, where it showed coins put in clay jars and being buried. This is the gold dinar coin of Imam al-Muiz, minted in the holy city of Mecca in 973 AD. The defeat of Qarmatids in Egypt by the Fatimids during the 973 AD weakened their position in Mecca as well as Imam al-Muiz thus also controlled Mecca and Medina. His name was acknowledged in the Khutbah in both these places in 973 AD and 974 AD. And it is entirely appropriate that this coin was produced there. It is extremely rare and scarce. This is the gold dinar of Imam al-Mustansir, minted in Madinat Rasul Allah, the holy city of Medina, in 1058 AD. This mint Madinat Rasul Allah was perhaps the rarest mint of all the Fatimid mints. A similar dinar dated 1061 AD is in the British Museum in London. This is very rare mint is also acknowledged by Miles as a Medina without any alternative suggestion. This is also another example of a very rare posthumous Fatimid coin from Alamut, bearing the name of Imam al-Nizar, minted long after the Imam had passed away. Apart from the coinage, for commerce, finance, and Fatimids also developed deep intellectual traditions and expressions, leaving behind the Fatimid legacy. This was the development of society through philosophy, astronomy, natural sciences, medicine, optics, economics, law, art, architecture, technology, and other disciplines. The most notable legacy of the Fatimids was the establishment of the city of Misr, now known as Cairo, and the world-renowned Al-Azhar fully integrated mosque and learning center, teaching many different subjects. Next slide, please. Slide change, please. At this slide, the world-renowned Al-Azhar fully integrated mosque and learning center, teaching many different subjects. The other most notable was the establishment of Darul Ilm, or the House of Knowledge, by Imam al-Hakim in the year 1005 AD. The Fatimids excelled in architecture with very intricate designs, as seen in Al-Azhar Mosque and many sites in Misr. They were also highly reputed for producing the unique art pieces, as seen here in this slide. They were very good in working with ceramics, making jewelry, and creating rock crystal glass items of extreme beauty. Having briefly explored their legacy, in concluding this exploratory talk, let us return back to the coinage of the extreme importance to Ismaili, the gold dinar of Imam al-Nizar. This coin is the example of extremely rare gold dinar of post-Fatimid Imam al-Nizar, minted in 1095 AD at Al-Askandiria in Egypt. Now let us look in detail at this post-Fatimid gold dinar, Imam al-Nizar seen here. This was minted in Alexandria in Egypt in the year 488 AH, during his short reign. It is extremely rare and important for Ismailis. As you know, after the death of Imam al-Mustansibila, his eldest surviving son Nizar was proclaimed as the Ismaili Imam. The design of coin is known as bull's eye. On the reverse side, in the innermost circle, it says, Al-Mustafa Lidin Allah Amirul Mu'mineen, which means the chosen one honors the religion of Allah, the commander of the faithful. The second circle, it says, Da'al Imam al-Nizar li Tawhid Allahu al-Ghafar, which means the Imam Nizar proclaims the unity of Allah, the most forgiving. The outer circle says, Bismillah duriba hada al-dinar bi Iskandiria sanata taman wa tamanin wa arbamiya, which means in the name of Allah was struck this dinar in Alexandria in the year 1095 AD. On the front of the coin, the innermost circle says, there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. The second circle, it says, and Ali is the most distinguished of agents and the wazir of the best of messengers. The outer circle says, Muhammad is the prophet of Allah, sent with guidance and religion of truth, so that he may proclaim it above every faith, even if unbelievers may be averse. On this coin and many of the others from different Imams, the words Allah, Ali, and Muhammad can be found inscribed. It is likely this coin was struck shortly after his succession was proclaimed. Imam Nizar's coin differs from those of Imam al-Mustansir, whereby Imam al-Nizar is described as God the Pardoner, presumably that he would be merciful to those who supported his brother Musta'ali. As far as is known, this is the only coin that can be directly associated with Imam al-Nizar. Historical details are from the new edition of Encyclopedia of Islam. This slide shows the gold dinar of Imam al-Aziz. It has been mentioned of Fatimid crown, the Taj embossed in the center of dinar. It was minted in Misr in the year 368 AH, 978 AD, assumed to be a special donative issue, and it is very rare. The last recorded later Fatimid coin is from Misr, Cairo, minted in 1170 during the later Fatimid period. This slide shows the setup. Next slide, please. This slide shows the setup of Fatimid coin exhibition in Hamburg, Germany. Another one for London Darkhana Imamat Day celebration. Photo gallery 1. This slide shows Begum Salima and Princess Zahra at the Centuries of Gold exhibition, Zamana Gallery, Ismaili Center, London in 1986. One more observation to add here from Begum Salima during the opening of this exhibition on 2nd July 1986. She remarked on the educational and historical values of the coins on display and the important part they played in Islamic heritage. This slide and the next one shows Maulana Hazar Imam visiting the exhibition of Fatimid coinage during the 1994 Padramani to UK. As can be seen, he was taking very keen interest in what was on display. Maulana Hazar Imam at the same exhibition of Fatimid coinage, he was very impressed and spent a long time viewing the glass top cabinet with the map and coins with strings showing where they were minted, which you saw earlier on. Here also you can see him smiling and happily holding the catalog of the coins presented to him. This talk was an introduction and brief summary of the Fatimid history and the coinage. There's a lot of reading material available, some pasted here. Anyone who wants to do further reading or research or start their own collection has some handout as per this slide, some of which can be sent by email on request. I hope you all enjoyed the talk and got the overview of the history of the Fatimid Imams and the coinage. Thank you, Rubina, for handling the side change, and thank you all for joining in. Ya Ali Madad.